Hi, I'm Tony from Sense Spokes, mobile bicycle mechanic. And today I'll be talking about pricing, trip charges, touch on labor costs, and touch on parts. So I am just a mechanic. I don't sell parts. Not a bike shop. I don't sell bikes, parts, things like that. So let's start off with trip charges. So for me, just to drive up and ring your doorbell, if it's an on-site service, meaning I go there and fix your bike right away, it's a $50 trip charge just to ring your doorbell. I have a second type of trip charge, which is a $75 trip charge. And what that includes is me going over to the customer's residence, picking up the bike, taking it back to my shop, working on it, then dropping it back off. And that's a one-time $75 charge. And those two prices are actually pretty good for what you get. Most customers don't argue with that price. Some have a little pushback or a little bit of sticker shock, which they got to take in perspective of what they're getting for that. So think about it. $50 for me to just go up to your doorbell. That includes my time on driving there, my gas. I drive a 2008 Chevy Tahoe V8, which gets 19 miles per gallon. Okay, right off the bat. Second is understand that if a customer, if they were to take their bike to a traditional brick and mortar store, they have to carve time out of their day, get out of their house, get into their vehicle, load their bike, drive to the bike shop. And in most cases, they're not going to do that service right then and there. Maybe for a flat tire, but for service, no, they're going to say, okay, come back in anywhere from, I don't know, 3 days to 2 weeks. Who knows what their backlog is. Then they have to drive home without their bike, drive back to the bike shop when it's done, another day, carving out another time out of their day, picking up the bike, loading into their vehicle, driving all the way back home. Okay? Yeah, they save $50, but think about all that time and inconvenience spent. Whereas for $50, I come to their residence and I start on fixing their bikes right then and there. Okay, you go to a traditional brick and mortar store, they don't fix it right away. Sometimes they have uh, a price to uh, a rush fee, I guess they would call it, to get that bike earlier, but still, it's you may cut down from 7 days to maybe 3 days. That's what that rush fee is for. We had that at the bike shop I worked at. Doesn't put you, you don't wait while your bike is serviced. They say, yeah, I'll come back in 3 days instead of seven. Anyway, and that's usually a $50 to $75 charge. On the $75 trip charge I charge, it's usually for service that's quite more extensive, whether it be replacing a part, um, like replacing brakes where I have to do internal routing, um, installing a new fork where I have to measure and cut the steer tube, um, full tune-ups, um, which I have to break down the bike to its bare frame, check all the bearings, replace them if needed, repack them with grease if they're ball bearings. If they're sealed, I have to pull them out, I have to test them, make sure they're running smooth, there's no grittiness in them, no pitting in them. That requires much more time. But for $75, you don't have to leave your house at all. I come back another day and drop off your bike. So that's a pretty good deal. As far as labor, yeah, a lot of the labor I charge is less than the trip charge. A flat tire for a non-motorized wheel is $20, not including not including the tube, of course. It's $20 for a motorized wheel on an e-bike. It's such as a hub motor. It's $30 for scooter. Scooters is in a little different class of its own. Scooters, whether it's motorized or non-motorized, is $60 to repair that flat And that also requires me to pick up the scooter. I can't do it on site. It requires, for one thing, it requires a bench vise most of the time. It requires a bench vise. And that's at my shop, not in the theater. So understand that. So for a scooter flat, unless you drop off the scooter at my place, which can save you a trip charge, it's $60. With that, with me driving out there, it's going to be $75 plus $60 to do that. Also, labor full tune-ups. A lot of times I get a customer. Most times I get a customer calling me up. Hey, I need a full tune-up on my bike, and a lot of times they don't need a full tune-up. Okay, most of my clientele, they would put in a season 300 to 500 miles on their bike. Okay, and then they put it away. They put it in the garage, let it sit there, and then they take it out. What they really need is just clean lube and adjustments, brake adjustments and shifting adjustments. Really clean the drivetrain, lube the drivetrain, clean the frame. I could do a simple true on the bike for the wheels. That's $75, and I could do that on site. So $50 trip charge, $75 for the deluxe health check, which is just cleaning, lube, and maintenance and adjustments, $125. Now, if a rider put several thousand miles on their bike between maintenance and also left their bike out in the elements, yeah, I will then recommend a full tune-up. Okay, but for most bikes, 90% of the bikes I work on just require simple deluxe health check. Parts. So the parts I carry: brake pads, cable housing, cables themselves, brake fluid, tubes, things I need to quickly do service. I carry entry level stuff. I can't carry the high end stuff because there's no profit margin in that. The low end stuff, there's barely a profit margin because I don't have that relationship with vendors to buy things at cost. What I pay for is what the customer pays for. So if there's an expensive part that the customer wants, I'll send them the link to it. They order it, because if I order it, I have to mark it up then. And there's no point unless the customer really wants me to order the part. I'll say, yes, this part costs $50. I'm going to sell it to you for $75. Here's the link. You could either order it yourself, pay what I'm going to pay, or I'll order it for you with that service fee, that markup for me ordering it, for me putting the time in to order it, putting the time in case the part came in wrong. Maybe I asked for this part and this happened. I asked for one part. They sent a completely different part. I had to spend the time going to the UPS, filing the claim saying I got the wrong part, or the part's damaged, or the parts, I didn't even get the part. I have to lay down that footwork and put in my time to correct that. If the customer ordered it and they got the wrong part sent, or the part was damaged, or the part was missing, that's on them to correct that. When they get the part and they give me a call, make an appointment, I go out and install it. So that's why I have to do a markup anytime I order a part. With my time investment, with my money, I have to do a markup. It's just, my time is valuable. And that comes down to the final thing of I can't undervalue myself in the fact that I can't just give deep discounts. I'm not trying to rip off anybody. At the same time, I have to value my time and my experience. I've been working on bikes so long that it's really easy for me. And sometimes I get that, wow, this is so easy. Why am I charging this much? The thing is, it's time, because yeah, it's easy, but it still may take 30 minutes to an hour to do something. That's not including the drive time, not including the wear and tear on my vehicle, not including the gas. It's my time. And then the time I took to acquire the skill set. Yeah, it's easy for me now, but when I first started wrenching on bikes, and I've wrenched on bikes since I was, oh my gosh, since I could hold a wrench. But the time it required to get that skill set, that's time investment, just like anything else, just like education. Um, so I got to take all that into consideration. And for my prices, they are actually quite fair. Think about the time you have to drive to a bike shop to drop off your bike and drive back to pick it up, time it takes to all that is just encapsulated and shortened when I go to a customer site, work on their bike immediately and get it fixed while I'm there. And they ride off on their bike the same day. It's, and they don't have to leave their house. It's a pretty good deal. And so um, I believe I'm fair with my price. I don't overcharge. I don't undervalue myself. And the best thing is I love working on bikes. I love seeing happy customers. I love seeing people on bikes. So anyway, uh, I just thought I'd just touch on this topic. All right. Have a good day. Stay safe out there and keep on pedaling.